Imagine you're Riot, fresh off the smash hit that was set 3. Playerbase is in a pretty good spot, and general attitude has improved significantly since sets 2, and with the success of the Galaxy's World Championship, with it peaking over 100,000 concurrent viewers, you now have hope that TFT is going somewhere. But to keep people invested, you need to do something ambitious, something never been done before. You need to make something even better than set 3. In simple terms, you need to make a perfect set. So your best and brightest get to work, conjuring up something and designing something that captivated both Western and Eastern audiences alike. What you come up with was Fates. You release the trailer, first impressions, people love it. The animation is cool, it's whimsical, it's fun, and overall, people just like what it's all about. Once the champions are revealed, even more hype is generated. Some old fan favourites are back, like Ninja and Sejuani, as well as some cool looking units like Ari and Atrox.
Wait, I'm curious. Boom? Boom.
But what really gets people hyped is a new tier of unit, a 4-star, something never seen before, a new econ tray in Fortune, and of course, the new mech, Cultist. And the set mechanic chosen is an interesting spin on the auto battler genre. A 2-star unit with 2 traits is kinda cool. People are excited, so you go to sleep that night feeling good that tomorrow will be a better day. The next morning, you go to Riot HQ, pull out your USB pen that the set 4 is loaded onto, and boot it into the PvE servers. Not 5 minutes later, the server starts to melt down as hundreds of thousands of people start to flood onto the server. People at Riot start to scramble, whatever they can do to ease the pain and stop the servers from melting. Eventually, you get things under control. Soon after, people find out the spirit is bugged, giving them full attack speed immediately, and wreaking havoc in every game. People are kinda pissed. You try to find the source of the issue, and it takes a few days. Turns out, Galio was a spell that procs spirit. But all in, PvE wasn't that bad, and it was looking like it was going to be a great release. Fast forward a couple weeks, the meta is reasonably varied, and some units who might be given some NARM level PTSD, but all in, it's going well. People love Ari, Set, Jin and Zed, but that cultist thing was a bit strong, but people loved that as well. Generally, it wasn't going too bad. And of course, almost everyone was doing their Buddhist cosplay and spamming Enlighten like it was going out of style. Around patch 10.20, you find one of your traits isn't doing so well, so you and your team get to work brainstorming what to do. You figure that a small rework to their trait and some item buffs might do some good. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? In the meantime, you address people getting 5 cost of 3-1 because of Fortune, you nerf Cultist a little bit, and move on to some of the more overbearing comps, as well as give some buffs to some underperformers. You go to sleep that night, dreaming that finally your game will be balanced. You wake up the next morning, the sun is shining, the birds are chirping. You turn your phone off airplane mode. What's that? People found a broken comp? What's that? It's literally game breaking. They're coining in War Week. You call up the balance team, try to find out what can be done. You think it's time for a B patch, but they tell you to just calm down for a couple days, just to see if people can come up with a strategy to beat it. You say, okay, that's fine. And then it doesn't get any better. In fact, it gets worse with everyone continuously playing Warwick over and over and over again. So you throw out a B patch, you revert a small change on the broken item, and things start to calm down. What made that comp so broken was the fact that they changed Shiv and increased the damage to basically do a lot more to CC targets, and Warwick had an AoE CC ability, so even at a 1-star, with the Divine buff getting like 50% damage reduction, he could basically kill an entire board by himself because everything CC'd. It was pretty nuts. One thing that you notice, in all of that, even with one of the worst balancing issues of the set, Playerbase was healthy, people didn't leave. So, you breathe a sigh of relief. Sir? Ari's doing too much damage. Well, of course, you shrug it off. She's a mage, she's supposed to do damage. Well, the thing is, He looks at you anxiously. They're not even playing Mage. What? It seems that her most popular item is GA, and she can channel Wild Dead. Good God, you whisper as you watch 1,000 lobbies get destroyed by one ability. It was a build popularized by Gangplank in Set 3, but the main difference was that Gangplank was a 5 cost, so 2-starring him and getting him to that point was hard, but Ahri was forcible, especially with the Chosen mechanic. You could literally almost guarantee a 2-star Ahri with a GA and a rod. Needless to say, upon patch later, that interaction was nerfed into the ground. Ahri wasn't the only thing to get nerfed into the ground. Cultist was hit with the nerf hammer in almost mech-like consistency, receiving a nerf in almost every patch until 4.5. And Phelios, who was one of the most hyped units of the set, well, Moonlight turned out to be so offensively good that along with Warwick, he had to be removed in the mid-set. Phelios is one of those units that had 3 items that when worked together turned him from a mediocre unit into a literal god. With the combination of Shojin, Rageblade and GA, he literally became the greatest unit probably of the set, even more powerful than Warwick. There are a few other standout comps like Dusk, my personal favourite, with Riven's awesome ability and Lilia's sleep. It was so beautiful and I loved the unit so much. I spammed this comp all day, every day. And Warlords, but Warlords didn't actually hit its stride until 4.5. Not to mention Kayn and his ability to transform gave a lot of people something to chase. There was even like an unkillable unit in Hecarim and Elderwood in general with Vhagar 3-star. There were also some interesting builds that revolved around Runans because at the time Runans still procced on hit effects, so units like Vayne and Kalista could basically build it and take over a game because they procced their spell on multiple units rather than just one, turning them from a single target nuke to a 2 or 3 target nuke. It was pretty strong, and it was one of those few builds and fantasies that you kind of chased some games because you just had the right setup. And of course there's a reroll comp that is synonymous with Set 4, and that's Bonky Kong. It was a combination of being able to stack infinite stats with Vanguard and then having the divine damage reduction just made him completely unkillable while also killing your entire team. It essentially turned him from a 1 cost to a 5 cost. And there was a sharpshooter build with Jinx and Nidalee, and that was pretty gross. I remember one of my friends spammed it constantly. It drove me insane because I just thought it was the most broken thing I'd ever seen in my life. Nidalee being able to throw 1 spear and it hit 16 targets in one go is kind of frustrating to play against. And Jinx's ability to CC basically 4 units at once was just annoying, coupled with the fact on hit proc with sharpshooters. It was kind of gross. You could literally put Shojin Rageblade on something and then it just stacks infinitely. There was Jin as well, but he was basically just a reprint of Set 3. Kinda the reason why sharpshooters was so good is because you had Teemo and you could splash spirits so easily, so you just got even more attack speed. One thing that we need to keep in mind, and this is probably the most important thing that we can think about when we do these kind of retroactive looks. It was conceived at a time when Riot's resources were limited. You know, after Set 2, they were kind of going on to maintenance mode, and Set 4 didn't have the same level of resources that we enjoy today, and it was only really a small dedicated team that at the time were probably fearing for their jobs that managed to pull this out of the bag. And what they did is created a critically acclaimed set where 10 million players stuck around until the very end, despite all of its flaws, despite all of its hiccups. And it's sad really, because Set 4 was fantastic, and the fight for the Golden Spatula has basically confirmed that if there is a revival on 4 or 4.5, it's going to be 4.5. So units like Warwick and Aphelios, they're not going to be in there. And I mean, don't get me wrong, 4.5 was a radical improvement. I mean, Slayer was much cooler, and just generally the units and the trait webs were a lot better designed. But I miss those days where there were just broken stuff everywhere. You know, there was interactions that had unique fantasies, and I mean, now we do have almost a similar concept of GA Aphelios in Bard, but it's important to remember that these sets, they're never coming back. Warwick, in that form, will never be back again. Yeah, we might get maybe a revival set with some of the units, but it will just be the TFT that we have today painted on to the TFT of yesterday. There won't be a Ludens, there won't be that static shift, there won't be a GA. So these interactions and these things that we remember that we were fond of just won't exist. And I mean, that's fine, but we need to just remember that they're gone now, and they'll always be gone, and the only time we can ever relive them is by looking into them one more time.
Shake hands to the bone. I never feel so cold as when I'm alone with you.